Right, and welcome everyone to our next, I think, series of games. I actually have no clue what the next game is, but I guess it's gonna be similar. But first off, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, easy story mode. And I have no clue how the game is gonna go, even so I'm already seeing quite a bit in the intro, so I'll leave it to you.
Cool, so this is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Game Gear. It doesn't get a lot of love. A lot of people think of the SNES version, but this is the one I grew up with as a kid, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty darn good, so we should probably get easy mode set and get started. Interestingly enough, there's 2 Power Rangers games for the Game Gear, and the other one, changing the difficulty, has a huge difference. In this one, changing the difficulty affects exactly 2 fights, so it affects them a lot, but it's not a huge deal. So away we go. I'm sure there's all sorts of story in those cutscenes. I haven't watched them in years, but we're not going to worry about it too much. So this is a fighting game. It plays kind of like a brawler because you have to make your way through waves of enemies before you get to the boss, as it were. The inputs are, on the Game Gear, there's the D-pad 1, 2, and start. Start, of course, pauses, which leaves you with just 2 buttons to do a fighting game with, which is not a whole lot. The solution is there's 1, 2, and then by pressing both at once, you get 3. So there's punch, there's kick, and there's special, as it were. Most of the game is spent doing the special by pressing 1 and 2 at the same time. Most enemies are absolute suckers for it. And Zack, the Black Ranger, is used through pretty much the entire run because his 1 and 2 gives him a 2-hit that is one of the most powerful moves in the game, and just cheeses the heck out of pretty much every boss. So prepare to see a lot of this. I hope you enjoy it. It's worth noting the AI in this game can be really erratic. The game effectively loads a different AI for each enemy, so some of them get really vicious, even in easy mode. Some of them stay really easy, so there's a chance that we'll just blast through this without any sort of problem. There's a chance that even though we're on easy mode and I've run this game dozens of times, I will die at some point, so it makes for interesting runs. That doesn't load super well. Okay. Yeah, the amount of blocking done, the moves used varies drastically depending on which AI winds up running. So a lot of people might find it surprising that the color palette is so massive on this. The Game Gear actually has a significantly better color palette than the Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis can do effectively 1500 colors. Technically it can only do 512, but you can get additional ones by highlighting and lowlighting. The Game Gear can do 4096 colors. So a little bit better. So you wind up with some really beautiful looking games, and the sprite work in this especially, I think, is phenomenal. It plays like a proper fighting game in spite of the fact that it's on a handheld, and it looks good while it does it. A lot of the game is spent trying to very carefully position myself so that I can hit these guys on entrance, so I can save as much time as possible, and try to not do things like throws, because those don't do quite as much damage as my kick. There we go. And take a little longer, because then I have to get a follow-up hit. As previously mentioned, the 1 and 2 from Zack the Black Ranger absolutely rips through stuff, so ideally if the run goes really well, it will sadly be a little bit boring for you to watch, because I'll just be standing enemies in corners and hitting them with the 1-2. The Megazord, you'll notice, I'm also doing the same sort of moveset the entire time. I think it took 8 AA batteries. It was an insane number.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm not looking at chat a whole lot, because the things keep moving.
No, it's totally understandable. I'm trying to keep up. Like, when you said it's handheld, I just try comparing it to the old Game Boy, which at that time I think was still black and white. And also remembering that even so the big gray one like only needed 4, and that was already a whole lot in the back of the Game Boy. Like, imagining putting 8 into it.
Yeah, I think a few people are saying 6,
Right.
so I think it might be 6. But yeah, that's still... the general joke goes the Game Gear was too expensive to play, not because of the cost of the system, but because of the batteries. And I'm not going to argue with that. I always played it with... with an adapter. I very rarely... I don't remember ever using batteries in my Game Gear as a kid.
Yeah, totally understandable.
So, like, honestly, in the sake of time saving, having those gray putties, if they toss me or do some damage rather than me having to fight through them like I have to with these red ones, it is really, really, really dissatisfying to have them run off the screen right after they beat the heck out of me. But they do it. Alright, Green Ranger, honestly, has, the most variable AI in this game. He will absolutely destroy me some days. He'll not even make an effort other days. Okay, that started out a little rough, but we're turning it around here. Yeah, the Game Gear was a battery machine. Fortunately, this game, even as a kid, I could play through it fairly quickly. But a lot of the other titles on it are a little bit longer or frustratingly difficult. So it takes a bit longer to get through them. Oh, that's bad. Oh, come on, guy. There we go. Oh. Oh. Yeah, so if you take way too long at that fight, the Green Ranger just disappears, which, not great for a speedrun, but better than dying, to be sure.
So why did the Green Ranger turn giant just now?
Oh, so when the Green Ranger first shows up, so this actually follows along the plot of the show surprisingly well. So when the Green Ranger first shows up, he's working for Rita Repulsa. So the first time you fight him, a la Rita Repulsa's monsters, he gets a giant form, and you have to fight him like that. And then he gets his own Zord. I don't even remember where he gets the Zord, to be totally honest. It's been a long time since I've watched original Power Rangers. But coming up is the showdown with the Green Ranger after defeating his Zord. And we'll catch the barest glimpse of a cutscene where he's convinced to join the good guys, assuming I don't get destroyed. Mean Green Ranger AI was one of my biggest fears for doing this run, because he will occasionally just annihilate me without giving me a chance, but it seems like it's not too bad today. Cool. Yep, so there we convinced the Green Ranger to join us. He's not really evil, and now we could play as him, but honestly, he's slower than Zack, so Zack it is. Yeah, the game, once again, after the rough times with the Green Ranger, shifts back into good timing, good positioning to not do that. Yeah, so a lot of this comes down to memorization of where enemies will be, where they'll come from, and hoping that the luck gods smile down upon you and load a merciful, or at least a not truly horrible AI for you to deal with. Honestly, like, I find this game super fun and relaxing to play, which is part of why I started running it. Even grinding for the fastest possible speed is just a really good time. Oop. Helps if I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. So this is looking like... Oh, spoke too soon. Yeah. In a perfect world, I just combo the enemy in the corner the entire time. Rarely works out quite so nice, but, you know, you take what you can get. So now we're coming up on one of my other major fears in the run, the Poluticorn. This guy has a couple screen-wide moves, as well as the meanest putty rangers in the game. Getting the timing right to knock these guys down right as they come out is rough. And then we start this troll section. So the Poluticorn is rough because not only can he hit you from anywhere, but he will get out of your range constantly. So it becomes this rush-down game where you have to try to not let him get away. Yeah, the Goldar throw is phenomenal. He just picks you up and tosses you right back down. It's so good. It's worth noting, normal and hard mode especially, but even easy mode could definitely use some more players and some time improvements. So if anyone wants to come do way better than what they're seeing right now, please come check out the speedrun.com leaderboards. And there we go. Part footing booth and part corn on the cob. Nice. So, this part, if I recall correctly, does not happen in the show, but now it's time for the video game palette swap boss rush that we all know and love. Amusingly, a lot of these guys wind up, generally speaking, being easier than the first time you encountered them. Not always, depending on how lucky you did or didn't get with the AI.
Who doesn't like color swapped enemies?
Yeah, these ones kill me because the palette swaps look so good. I mean, once again, it comes down to that whole, the Game Gear had a huge color palette. Amusingly, in spite of the giant color palette, the Game Gear could only handle 31 colors on screen at once, so they had to get pretty creative with it. Come on, guy. Oh, that's not good. I'll take it. Could have been a lot better, but I'll take it. Yeah, fortunately this game has unlimited continues. The sequel is not so kind, which is fine on easy mode, but come the harder difficulties, being able to continue can become essential, especially for a casual playthrough. And my favorite way to finish it off with a nice sword slash. I love that the palettes for their images cycle, as well as them themselves. And that's it. That's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Game Gear.